Very excited to have everybody here. We're sure we'll give a few more people as we go along here, but I wanted to get started and I'm excited to talk about what's new in compliance case management and regulatory change with my coworker, Anoop. Anoop, you want to introduce yourself?
Thank you so much, Teresa. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. This is Anup speaking from India, and it's a real pleasure to meet one and all every compliance officers, manager, and analysts that we have in today's session. Great knowing everyone.
Yep, and we've got lots to show. So please hang on and enjoy the ride that Anoop is going to take you on with our wonderful demo. But before we get started, we've got a couple of housekeeping tips. This is being recorded and it will be posted in about 24 hours on our YouTube channel, which I will put in the chat at some point during our webinar. Please use the Q&A. We really want to make this interactive. If you've been with us on any of our other webinars, you know that we like the interaction. We want the questions. And if anyone wants to connect with Anoop afterwards, please feel free to put your email address in the chat and we will make sure that we collect that and contact you. The session, at the end of the session, there will be a survey. And actually during the session, we will have a couple of polls. So please hang tight after we're done and take the survey. It helps us, do more of these for you and do them better. Reason we're here is because we have announced new applications on the ServiceNow store. And we're very excited about them. There's a lot to be told. And we've actually been doing various webinars for the last couple of weeks now, showcasing all of these new applications. So a couple of weeks ago, we started out with business continuity management. We went through risk management and third-party risk management. Then we went to continuous authorization and monitoring, our new CAMS, or not new CAM solution, our CAM solution. Then we did compliance and audit. Just last week, we did data privacy laws with our partner, technology partner, Radar First. And today we're wrapping up, best for last, wrapping up our webinar series with compliance case management and regulatory change. So we're going to take you through a couple of slides, and then Anoop is going to get to this amazing demo. But we wanted to level set a little bit first and find out, where everybody is and what everybody's doing. So we've got a poll question for you to get started. And we want to know, basically, what's your biggest obstacle? Let me launch this for you. What's your biggest obstacle to maintaining an effective compliance program? Is it that there are a bunch of manual processes? Is it that you have inadequate staffing? Maybe you've got competing business priorities or ineffective coordination of compliance efforts? Or is there just not enough money? Could be any of these. I have my pick. What do you think it's going to be, Anoop?
Yeah, definitely. I can sense the manual activity is a lot of strenuous work, and that's something which is jumping up the radar. So, great response from everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. I think we're slowing down here. Let me go ahead and end the poll, and you all can see what it is that you share the results, and you can see what everybody said. So, not surprising, a lot of manual processes and ineffective coordination of compliance efforts. I mean, I think we see that a lot. And that's part of what what we're trying to solve here with the ServiceNow product, right? All right, let me stop sharing and let's get to the meat of the webinar here, and let's talk about compliance case management.
Yep. Right. I'm going to start sharing the screen, and I'll just take over the tour. Thanks for the wonderful intro, and I hope you can see the screen, Teresa.
Yep, it looks great.
Great, awesome.
Washington.
Great. That's exactly that we want to highlight. What's newly added as part of the Washington release. This is just a high-level summary. We will get in the details through a live demo. And of course, feel free to stop by if you do have any questions or any comments using the Q&A section. So within the compliance case management, what we have entirely focused is on three areas. If you look at it at a high level, we tend to focus heavily on user experience, reporting, and of course, collaboration. You might wonder why are these two important three factors focused primarily on compliance case. For every product, be it within the ServiceNow, we want to wow our customers to all these factors, giving all the necessary essential capabilities to manage your entire compliance program effectively. From a reporting side, we do realize when you're dealing with multiple compliance cases, you need a provision wherein you can actually export those individual compliance case or be it compliance inquiries into PDF format. And the benefit over here is you can, of course, send it across to your external stakeholders or even to your internal board members who would be interested to see where are we with the overall compliance case. From a user experience side, we also take some minor changes with respect to on how you're identifying which are the impacted areas and the related areas belonging to a compliance case. This is just a minor change, and we will get through those level of details from a live demo session. Last but not the least, when we talk about collaboration, we want to ensure that every participant from a compliance team is involved when they're dealing with a compliance case. When you wish to translate that information via email, using this new tool that we introduced within the ServiceNow platform, you can compose, draft each of your email interactions within the centralized case management tool. And you would be happy to see more of those details as we walk through the demo. Last but not the least, on the regulatory change management, one of the significant capabilities that has been recognized as a core product requirement is to allow users where they can actually simply go ahead and create manual or ad hoc regulatory alerts. As you know, when you're dealing with regulatory changes on a dynamic basis where you interact with a lot of industry experts or even other words wherein you're relying on the information from a third-party provider like maybe a RegTech provider, you can cut those dependencies. And with this new introduction, you can go ahead and manually create them on the fly without any of those dependencies. So these are the high level summary that we'll go through from an application standpoint, and really excited to showcase each of them. But before we proceed, this is just I would kind of say, just a short overview about what the product is. I'm sure you might have familiar about all of these capabilities that we are talking through. In the context of compliance case management, we deal with a lot of cases, be it security incidents, employee inquiries, even financial incidents that you wish to report. And all of these, you need to have a centralized repo where you can actually manage them by the compliance team. Depending upon the nature of the compliance, if it has any compliance risk that needs to be investigated in depth, that's where you need a tool which will help you to manage it effectively. So this is at a high level, which basically centralize each of those requests, which can be triaged and reviewed by a common compliance team. If it has a potential compliance effect or any implication that needs to be reviewed, that's where the compliance case management product can help you out. With the introduction of the type-based classification, you can categorize and organize your compliance request in a beautiful manner. Now, what that means is you might deal with request or general inquiries, but within the compliance case, you might have broad spectrum covering security incidents, financial, loans, and HR cases, and much more, or even legal inquiries as well. And all of those can be categorized in a configurable tool, which will allow you to manage this in a dynamic fashion. And this is just a detailed process flow that I'm just walking you through about. We start with the journey of where a frontline user, be it an employee or a staff member within your organization, if he or she wishes to report a compliance case, this is the whole journey that we are going to take you through. It starts with reporting a compliance case through an internet portal or be it a web-based interaction medium that you would like to support it and bring it into the ServiceNow platform. As a case manager or a compliance officer, the respective team member can go ahead and review each of those cases, identify what are the investigate measures that can be identified to closure. Along with those, what are the breach responses that you can document? If there are any remediation measures, if you want to invite multiple stakeholders in this whole case management program, be it the HR or even the finance team, each of those members can coordinate and collaborate effectively. Last but not the least, if there are any discrepancies or any findings that you wish to report, you can log them and have it effectively closed out before the official case is reported and logged in the application. This is a high-level workflow, and you might have noticed all of these essential capabilities that will help you to manage it on a daily process. Before I move on to the next step, I'll just take a pause to see if there are any questions specific on compliance case, Teresa, before I move on to
No,
the.
we haven't got any, but please, we want to answer your questions. We know that we know you've got questions. So please make sure, don't be shy. Put the questions in the Q&A, and if we don't get to them, then we'll be able to follow up with you after the fact.
Thank you. Thanks, Teresa. Right. This is just once again, just a high level flow of the regulatory change program. You might be dealing with large number of regulatory content, be it rule books, enforcement actions, litigation, press releases, you name it. And the amount of the average number of these regulatory alerts are alarmingly high, close to 255, as you might have noticed in the Thomson Reuters publication report. Now, how do we bring this into a ServiceNow platform is the beauty of all these integration providers. As you might notice, before the Washington release, we offered you two integration mediums where we can pull this data. Using an RSS medium, which is publicly made sourced, you can actually create those RSS connections and bring in those data as into the application. The other one is if you have a REST-based API connection with any of your regulatory technology providers, we offer you that as one of the standard integration provider into the application. Third mechanism is where we have newly added as part of the Washington release. What if I want to create it manually without depending on any of the regulatory technology provider based on some offline conversation with your industry expert? You can now go ahead and manually create or submit a regulatory alert at any point in time. Now, that's where all of these are aggregated and collected as a regulatory alert for you, which will help you to basically ensure the respective compliance team can react on and stay up to date with all of those regulatory changes. And how do you do that? That's where the gap analysis or how do you manage those change effectively in the system. With the detailed impact assessment process, you identify which are your affected business taxonomies, your entities that is going to be related, identify which are the citations and the compliance policies that is going to be related so that you manage your whole gap analysis program in a streamlined fashion. Last but not the least, you want to ensure you implement those change in a streamlined fashion. And that's where you bring in all of this into an end-to-end flow with all the necessary capabilities into the platform. Last but not the least, it's more all about reporting and highly dynamic and fluid in nature, which you want to keep a tab on what's happening overall from a regulatory trend perspective, give you more detailed insights, which are the affected entities, and much more. So this is a detailed, brief overview about the product. With that being said, we just want to run through on one last poll question. Again, just to keep it, just to get a sense on how you really react on some of those regulations and industry standards. With that being said, maybe Teresa, you can actually launch the poll. This is the final
Yeah.
question. Again,
That,
what we would like to understand is how do you deal with all of these regulatory changes on a daily basis? Be it newsletters, are you interacting with RSS feeds, or maybe through word of mouth? How are you dealing with them? So it's just a broader spectrum that we want to understand from an overall regulatory landscape.
well, and I think the regulatory change management application is something that I'm hearing more and more about, honestly, that people are using. Because I mean, if everyone who's listening, I mean, think about the number of regulations that you're getting, that you're coming in, and now we've got new ones, being enacted for AI. That's something you're going to need to be concerned about. And I see a lot of regulations happening over in Europe that I know, like GDPR, are going to come across, and we're going to be seeing either the same regulations or we're going to see variations of them. And if you do business in Europe, you actually have to adhere to them right now. So I really see that regulatory change is something that more and more people are actually talking about and being concerned about.
Absolutely, that's true, right? And we can definitely see there are a lot of technology providers out in the market where they offer you those curated feed, and that's where it is being ranked as number one based on the response that we can collect so far. Great, thank you
Yeah,
so much for responding to those questions. Yeah,
let's share the results so everyone can see.
absolutely. Yeah,
There we are. So the regulatory intelligence providers almost actually double what anybody else uses. So that's not surprising.
absolutely. Yeah. And think of it, these technology providers offer you the curated and structured feed, which gives you the process to manage it effectively. So if it needs more information, like which jurisdiction it covers, sectors, and much more, and that's exactly where technology providers help you out on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. Thank
Right.
you guys. Thank everybody for taking the poll. Um, Now I think you're gonna leap into the demo now. Is that where we're
Absolutely.
going?
Exactly. Yep. So really excited. Let's just dive in right away. So I'm just gonna switch this, get back to the application. Oops, just give me a second. I have to re-log in once again. Sorry about that.
No, not a worry. It happens. We spent a lot of time chatting. So when that happens, things log out. And I find that things time out faster and faster these days. I'll do something and I'll turn around and all of a sudden I'm logging back in again. It's it seems to be a thing. And actually the single sign-on seems to be a thing too. I'm always single sign-oning to everything.
Right. Great, I'm back online. So I hope you can see the screen. So we'll start by logging into the compliance landscape of as a compliance officer, where they have the multitude of products that is compliance case management and regulatory change management in one instance. So I'm going to log in as this particular user, acting as a kind of a supreme role where all of these essential permissions have been granted. As you switch on to the navigation experience of within the workspace, let's now dive within the compliance case management, where we'll focus on those three features that has been added as part of the Washington release. So to begin with, I'm just opening up one of the compliance case which is currently active in nature. And we're going to log into the open cases widget, wherein you can see each of those cases which has been traversed from during various states of the life cycle. More important in focus, I would like to review and explore one of these case record that has been filed by Mark. And as the user that I'm working on, let's just review what are the details that has been newly added in this Washington release. So first and foremost, we are going to talk about the ability to export the entire compliance case record into PDF. Now, what this means is with the click of a button, as you see over here, you can now export the entire compliance case record. Now, what does this mean is if you have all the essential details starting from the detailed description, the current state, all the key dates that has been reported, and as well as the associated action task, that is in a way which needs to be worked out by the respective owners or the analyst, which are the affected areas, the regulations, issues, and much more. All of these are now being enabled to combine them into a PDF format wherein you can actually download and send it for an offline reporting. So in a moment, as and also not to mention, you will also have a flexibility to choose your own predefined templates. Now, what does this mean? Every customer, depending upon the type of case that they wish to report, they wish to manage their own specific reporting templates. And that's where ServiceNow offers you the power to, as an administrator, to decide what are those different reporting templates that you wish to configure. If it's for financial domain, you can have your financial set of information outlined. Likewise, the header details, the footer information can be configured and aligned as per your preference. By default, in other words, within the pre-packaged layer, this is a seeded template that we offer, which has all the essential information that you can provide. As soon as you choose this template, the system is going to generate all that information, compile it into PDF format. And I have a sample record which is now being launched into the screen. As you can notice, it captures all the essential information that you've recorded, starting from the name, the detailed description, who is the owner, the type of the case that has been reported, and all the associated action tasks, the key milestone dates, and of course the issues that has been reported, the detailed status of it, the remediation measures, and of course if there are any findings that has been reported such as issues, that can be captured as well. So this is compiled into one PDF document, and you can actually of course send it to your board of directors or even your regulators as well, depending upon the level of information that you want to disclose it out. So this is one of the features from a reporting standpoint that has been added. Now let me just switch on to the user experience side. And this has been one of the feedback that we've heard from all the customer accounts, especially prior to the Washington release, when you're essentially working on identifying which are the areas of impact and the related areas. The previous stage or in the previous experience has been a little bit of, I would say, kind of a lot of user clicks has to be involved. Now, what that means is when you're trying to add a certain area of impact, be it entity or company, the amount of user interaction steps was alarmingly very high. With this new user interface component that I'm just trying to launch, you can now work everything in a single unified dialog window. Now, what that means is you can decide whether it is affecting a certain region or location, and the bottom screen will refresh you and identify which are those locations that you can search within and go ahead and associate. Let's go ahead and add the location over here. And if you wish to add another one, which could be perhaps a potential user, and you can go ahead and add them one by one or one or more. And that way, all of this is relatable in nature, and you can manage it in one single user interface. Versus what used to happen previously was whatever operations that used to do, it used to appear in a new tabbed window. So that created a lot of distraction because the new tabbed window, it doesn't provide you the details of the case. So you had to switch back and forth. And that was creating a lot of inconvenience for the users, I would say. So this is a major change from a user experience standpoint that will really simplify the whole experience of how you want to identify which are those areas of impact and likewise the areas of related policies or even citations. So this is a new UI component that has been added within the compliance case. So you can identify and recognize what needs to be associated one by one. On the third item, which is related to collaboration as one of the theme, we have a new capability wherein you can actually compose or draft each of your email interactions with your regulators or your non-named system users using the emails tab. Now, what this allows you to do is if you wish to manage each of your email interactions related to a compliance case, you can use this new component, which is now enabled within the compliance case record, wherein you can draft the message, all of the essential details, and submit all of that information right in here. So which means all of the interactions can be handled within the ServiceNow platform and it gets registered for further reporting and logging purpose. If you do have any templates that you wish to configure, you can actually use that. Say, for example, if you have a template very specific to compliance inquiries or regulatory inquiries as such, you can use that for composition purpose and make the necessary amendments and submit it out. So here's an example that I've just logged and assigned it to an individual, which is related to an inquiry related to a potential regulatory violation, which is for the fraud that has been detected, there is a potential policy violation that needs more additional information. So this is currently in that particular state, and you can keep adding multiple emails related to this particular compliance case record. With
Yeah,
that being
it lets you really tailor the experience, doesn't it?
absolutely, yes, that's exactly right. And that's the beauty of what we would like to ensure that you have all of the necessary details when you're reacting to a compliance case where you can manage it effectively. Last but not the least, with respect to the PDF export, I did mention that you can actually templatize your own preference. So what that means is depending upon your case type, whether it is for financial or dealing with fraud or even legal related cases, you can configure your own templates, which means as an administrator, you can decide and be templatize as per your preference. And that can be managed at an administration layer. And once that has been standardized, you can use it for your PDF reporting purpose. So that's something that can be managed efficiently by the administrators of the tool. With that being
So
said, oh yeah, sorry.
I was gonna say we actually have a couple of questions, but go ahead and finish out your thought.
Sure, sure. Yeah, we just reached to the end specifically on the compliance case. We can take some few moments to review some of the questions that we have on the Q&A.
We do, yeah. Actually, we got one in chat.
Sure.
So I think people are looking at this, and I think they're really interested in it, and they're wondering how do they get it? Which package is this in? Is this an IR part of the IRM license, or is it a separate license? What is it?
Good question. Thanks for reaching out, and we would be happy to assist you on that front. So this is definitely as part of the IRM package, and more precisely within the policy and compliance, and that's where can actually help you on all those compliance related modules that will help you to do this efficiently. So for more details, we can definitely reach out and take it on a separate note and guide you on the next level of details.
Yeah, I think that's great. That's great news that they don't have to buy anything extra. So one more question. For managing compliance cases, does the system support configuring workflow state models
Yes.
for each case type?
Very good question. Exactly. And that's precisely the beauty of what we have done within the tool. Let me see if I can bring that up. So within the tool, we have something called as dynamic case assignment route. So what that means is, depending upon your customer preference, you can configure n number of types. So your type can vary depending upon various factors. And these are some of the seeded values that we offer, ranging from AML to non-financial frauds and much more. So for each of these subtypes that you configure, you can manage your configuration templates and your questionnaires accordingly. So this is a kind of a configuration utility specific to the compliance case management product, which will help you to manage your state-based record and of course, whom it needs to be assigned. And also the topic where I was mentioning how you want to decide what the structure of the PDF reporting template, everything can be managed in this centralized view.
Fantastic. That's all the questions we have right now, but keep the questions coming. What are we going to talk about next?
Great. Yep. So the last but not least, we have on the regulatory change management product. So let me now switch to the regulatory change management product and give you a tour on what is this new capability that we are talking about. So as you're quite familiar, when we are dealing with all these regulatory changes, in one of the poll questions, you have pretty much answered, you deal with regulatory intelligence providers on a day-to-day basis. Now, this is a new core product capability which helps a lot of matured customers out in the market where they will help you to go ahead and report a regulatory alert on the fly. So which means without depending on or relying on any technology providers, you can go ahead and report each of them manually in the application. So let me just walk you through on how that entire process looks like. So here, this is a new reporting action that has been launched. Now, what this means is it allows you to create a new regulatory alert immediately. So it's in simple terms, the manual creation of a regulatory alert. So when you click on that action, it will launch a form interface, a kind of a blank record, a blank statement. So it allows you to define what the regulatory alert is all about, profile all the necessary details, and assign it to a stakeholder, which in our case, we could term them as a coordinator or a domain expert who can actually review it. You will also notice there is a source identifier to distinguish whether this alert is created as manually, or in other words, through source from a technology provider, which has been the case previous to Washington release. So this is a new source identifier so that you can use it from a filtering purpose to identify, show me all those regulatory alerts which are categorized as manual in the system. Now you might be wondering, do I have to create this manually in the system for each and every alert? No. We also offer you the capability to do a bulk import as well. So that means using a predefined Excel template, as I'm showing you right now, this is a predefined template wherein you can actually fill out all the essential details starting from title, the type, and of course the description which is needed from in a bulk import capability. You can go ahead and submit this template into the application. One point to note, right now, this experience has been provisioned for an administrator. Depending upon the various requirements, we will definitely enhance and support it from the workspace standpoint, which means as a manager or even as a general user can go ahead and upload these alerts on the fly into the application. So what I'm just going to present you right now is the navigation experience on how you can upload this into the tool. So with that, I will just search for the regulatory alert list view, which is a non-workspace mode, or in other words, a kind of the administrator view, if you look at it. You will notice there are two new tabs, as you notice. The first option is where you can actually download the template, and that's the standard template that we offer you with all the essential details that is ready for you to describe what the regulatory alert is all about. Once you fill out all the necessary information, as an administrator, you can use the import alerts view tab option, which will take you to identify what are the table that you want to process it. So this is a standard ServiceNow importing capability wherein you can actually seed in your data into the application. So it's a simple procedure. You fill out all the details, use this interface wherein you can go ahead and upload that data into the application. Once everything is sanitized, if there are any errors that needs to be validated, you can re-upload them with all those amended information, and you can see all that being recorded into the regulatory alerts view. So these are the areas are primarily focused on the regulatory change, but we are going to aggressively improve more and more features down the line. But these are the high level features that we would like to walk you through as part of the Washington release. I know there are a lot of questions specifically on this topic, but happy to answer anything. And that brings up to the last point specifically on regulatory change.
Yeah, I think we've got one question here. Um, when there is a regulatory event, when there is a regulatory event alert, And when it is applicable, how do you relate the documents? How do the related documents show up? So how do the related documents show up when there's a regulatory event alert? And what is the logic behind that?
Right. So as of today, the current logic is manual. It requires a human intervention to identify what are the related citations or the related documents. But if some of these information are disclosed by technology providers, we have those integration capabilities which will allow you to identify which is being seamlessly integrated. So let me just walk you through one of those provider which has been offering us these daily regulatory feeds. And as you might notice, the related documents is a blank screen, but in certain scenarios, depending upon that information being curated by the provider, they can identify which citation does it belong to and much more. So those are some of the areas where we are aggressively working from an AI ML use case, where we want to reduce that whole human intervention, bring in a level of layer of, yeah, I would say system intelligence, wherein it'll identify which are those related citations based on perhaps text-based similarity or other factors that will help you to manage this whole process of the entire end-to-end journey. And if you're interested to be part of that design validation exercise, just reach out to me. I would be happy to share you some detailed thoughts around what we're working as part of the Xanadu release. And that's something beyond as well. So some of those wonderful AML use cases that we are working on that front. So right now it's a manual job. It requires a human intervention to identify which citation of the document does it belong to. As you notice, this is a related compliance library that we seed in, but depending upon your decision factors or some other criteria that you wish to report, you can go ahead and associate to them manually. We do realize that's not the ideal world, and that's where we are going to make sure that it is highly automated for you so that you can actually do that job effectively.
Wonderful. So we've got a couple of people raising their hand to be part of the validation group. If you are interested, please put your email address in the chat, and we will grab it so that we can contact you for that.
Wonderful. That's
Um,
wonderful, actually. Great. Yeah.
Wonderful. All right, let me grab that.
Any other questions,
Fantastic.
Teresa?
I don't see any other questions right now. So why don't I go ahead and snag the screen from you? If you do have questions, please pop them in the chat, um, and and we will be happy to grab them. All right, so I'm going to wrap up here. Anoop, I think someone else got their email in the chat. Why don't you grab that chat before we end the webinar and we lose everybody's contact information. We don't want to do that.
Absolutely.
And we will make sure we check the Q&A before we actually finish up here. But we want to thank you for your time. I did put the link to register for additional webinars in the chat. I also have the link for the YouTube playlist where you can find this recording and you can find all the other recordings that we've done on this series, plus lots of other great recordings and demos on our products with partners and with other entities. We also want to connect with you on the community. So if you're not on our community forums, if you're not available and active there, please check that out. You can grab the QR codes here or just, do a little search on our link. There are lots of live on-demand webinars coming up. So, check our again, on the community. We have a blog that comes out with all of the events, not just our webinars, but other events, in-person events and trade show events that we're going to. So it's a great way for you to stay up on, where you can connect with us and where you can see some of the new things live and in person. And we really want to thank you. Let me check the chat and QA one more time here. Let's just make sure that we are good there. And I think we've got all the information we need. We want to thank you. Thank you, Anoop, for demoing this for us. This was amazing new enhancements that you've put in there. Lots of things to improve people's productivity and make it easier for them. Up, you're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, it has been a great session, actually. Thank you so much for listening in. And I am going to reach out to each one of the participants who have shown interest. So do wait for a couple of weeks' time, and we will definitely reach out with more details on that front. But thank you. Thank you so much for listening in. I hope it was really helpful.
And thank you for joining us. And please continue to join us on other webinars as we do them. And we look to see you again soon. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.